Hola, my friends. I hope you're all well. I'm in a totally different setup today. So I'm not at home, I'm at my parents' place. I spent the weekend, Pete and I spent the weekend like packing up um, my office, packing up the soon to be baby's room, and just moving stuff because we have workmen in today. So I couldn't work from there because there's just going to be too much noise and too much dust. So I came to my parents' place, which is better, but still not the easiest place to work from because there's always lots of people here. And concentrating isn't the easiest thing. But I'm so grateful that I have a space to come to, so which is good. But anyway, I apologize for my stories being late today, but let's dive right in. So as Nick said, this week on Instagram, we're speaking about how to build trust with others, right? How to build trust in relationships. And since we were speaking about navigating relationships, romantic relationships in particular, last week, we thought that it would be like a really nice sort of next step, because ultimately all relationships are about building trust, right? Whether it's a romantic relationship, a relationship with your child, a relationship with a daughter-in-law or a son-in-law or a parent-in-law, or a business relationship, a relationship with a boss, or a relationship with a client, or a relationship with a colleague or an employee. Ultimately, for relationships to be able to grow, we need trust. Now, like, trust isn't the lack of conflict, right? It doesn't mean that you never argue or you never disagree. Trust goes beyond conflict. Trust is that sort of bond between you that lets each other know. It's like safety, and it lets each other know that you can, you will still be there at the end of the conflict. The other will still be there at the end of the conflict, right? In fact, something that's very damaging for relationships is when you kind of use, oh, I'll leave, or I'm so sick of this relationship. So, when you use the threat of leaving, that damages trust a lot. So trust is that sort of, hey, we stay together no matter what, I have your back no matter what. And I feel and I believe that you have my back no matter what. It's that building of this. And obviously it's not something that comes like that. It takes time to build, and so we need to have patience within relationships, but it is also something that you can kind of gauge at the beginning of a relationship. You can kind of sense, is this somebody who I can build trust with? And the way that you can gauge it is, are they honest in what they say? Does what they say correlate with their behavior then? And, is it backed up by their behavior? Does what they say match their facial expression, the way that they talk? There needs to be congruity. So you can think of trust as a safety net, right? So you build your relationship upon a safety net of trust, so that, because obviously your relationship's going to be challenged, right? There's no such thing as a relationship that is never challenged. Whether you're challenged by, in-laws who don't necessarily support your relationship, or financial challenges, or anything, like, there's always going to be challenges. So you need to have this base of safety. And what this base of safety does is, the fact that you know that you're not playing games with each other, that you're not saying, hey, be this way or I'll leave you. There's no sort of element of control. What the safety creates is more authenticity. So you are free to be yourself. You are free to be honest with the other, and the other is free to be honest with you. And when you truly understand each other, when you know each other, then you can have real conversations. And through the real conversations, you can build a much more fulfilling life together. Even if you're just speaking about a relationship with an employee, for example, if you can have more honest conversations with each other, then you can see where the relationship is going much clearer than if you're playing games with each other. The authenticity is vital. So how can you build trust with each other, right? I have 3 steps for building trust with each other. So one is to be very honest with the other about what is and what isn't okay for you, right? When you pretend that things are okay, you are doing yourself a disservice, right? Because you're lying, essentially. You might be doing it to, make things comfortable or to not upset the other. But ultimately, you're doing the relationship a disservice, because you're going to end up carrying that resentment with you anyway, because the person's going to keep doing the thing that isn't okay. So you need to be very clear about what your boundaries are, what is okay for you and what isn't okay for you. And there are some people who have difficulty even defining what is okay for them and what isn't okay for them. And the way to understand what is okay for you and what isn't okay for you is by tuning in with your emotions, because your emotions will let you know. When you experience anger, for example, you know that something's been done that isn't okay for you. When you experience gratitude, something's been done that's great, so you need to learn to navigate this area of your life, right? What is okay for me, what isn't, and then communicating this honestly. My second tip for building trust is to listen to the other with curiosity, not judgment. So on the whole, in society, what you find is that people listen to each other with preconceived notions of the other. So even in a relationship within, if you have an argument, right, your partner does something like they don't take out the trash, for example, and you'll decide that this is a sign that your partner just doesn't care about you and is a selfish, so-and-so. And this is placing a judgment on the behavior, right? You give the behavior meaning. Now, if you had to go in with curiosity instead and say, listen, I noticed that you didn't take out the trash again, and I'm just wondering, why does this keep happening? I want to understand, I thought that it was, understood that you were going to be taking out the trash, and I want to understand why it's not happening. And then you listen with curiosity. You might find that the partner actually sort of feels like they never signed up for the job, or it got lumped on them, or they would prefer it if you took it in turns, or the timing is bad, or whatever. But the thing is that it's only through listening with curiosity that the other is going to, 1, have the space to speak. 2, you're going to be able to understand where they're coming from. And 3, you're going to be able to find solutions together. When you listen to someone with judgment, it makes the other person go defensive, right? Because you've made your mind up about why they're doing what they're doing. So the other person's going to be like, well, what the hell is the point, right? They're either going to go defensive or they're going to go on the attack, and they're going to attack you. So 3, my third tip for building trust is, when you have an argument or there's conflict, when you have a falling out, take the opportunity to repair it, right? When we allow arguments and then a lot of distance to be created between each argument, then we have real difficulty understanding each other. It's like you create this distance, and then you end up filling the gap with your own perception of what's going on rather than the reality of what's going on. So trust erodes more and more and more. So when there is a falling out, no biggie, falling outs happen, but take the opportunity to have a conversation about it. Be honest about how you felt about what happened, what hurt for you, what wasn't okay for you, and also listen with curiosity and an open heart to the other person. What wasn't okay for them? What was confusing for them? And it's through this interaction that you can then repair the relationship. And trust is actually not built on a relationship that never has a falling out. That's too superficial. It's too easy. Trust is built on the relationships where there are falling outs, but you guys show each other that you are so willing to listen to each other, to put aside your own ego, to listen to another person. This doesn't mean that you don't then express what you need to as well, but that you are willing to put aside your head for a few minutes, just take in the other person's reality, to let it impact you, let it affect you. And this is what builds trust. So obviously, with trust comes more fulfilling relationships, right? On all levels, business, personal, all levels of relationships. So if you are a person who is looking to improve the relationships in your life, to deepen the trust and have more fulfilling relationships, we can guide you with this with lifestyle strategy sessions. So just DM me if you would like to have more info about how sessions work, like how you can sign up, what they cost, what the commitment is, all of this stuff. Just DM me and I'll give you the information that you're looking for. Thank you very much for tuning in. As always, I always appreciate your trust in me and my trust in you. And I'm looking forward to another week of interacting. I send you lots of love and peace and joy. Cheerio.